Imagine you're looking at one of those magic eye stereogram images. At first, it's just a meaningless, chaotic pattern of colors and shapes. You stare at it, relaxing your gaze, and for a long time, nothing happens. It's just noise. Then, in a sudden flash, your perception shifts. The chaos reorganizes itself, and a fully formed three-dimensional image leaps out at you. A shark, a starship, a flower. It was there all along, but you couldn't see it. The moment the pattern becomes clear, the moment you can say, aha, it's a shark. That is recognition. Welcome back to Inner Vision Architecture. In our last episode, we explored transmission, the mysterious bridge that carries signals from our unconscious depths into the light of awareness. Today, we arrive on the other side of that bridge. A signal has been sent, an intuition, a gut feeling, a somatic sensation has arrived. Now what do we do with it? This brings us to the pivotal fourth and fifth stages of our architecture: recognition and understanding. This is where raw awareness begins to crystallize into transformative wisdom. Recognition is the art of naming what has been transmitted. It's about looking at the vague feeling, the recurring thought, the subtle impulse, and giving it a name. It is the act of mapping the territory of your own mind. Why is this so important? Because what you can name, you can engage with. What you cannot name, what remains a vague and undifferentiated sense of I feel bad or something is wrong, controls you from the shadows. Without recognition, you are lost in the chaotic noise of the stereogram. With recognition, the image snaps into focus. In this stage, we are like scientists of our own inner world, developing a vocabulary, a taxonomy, for our own mental and emotional processes. For example, you might have a recurring experience before any big opportunity, a kind of heavy, draining fatigue that makes you want to procrastinate. Through the skill of recognition, you stop seeing this as random tiredness, and you name the pattern the opportunity break. You see that it's a predictable, recurring sequence of thought, feeling, and behavior. Or perhaps you notice that around certain people, you become intensely agreeable and lose touch with what you actually think or want. You recognize this pattern and name it: the chameleon. The simple act of naming it creates a profound shift. It externalizes the pattern. It is no longer me. It is the chameleon, a program that I run. One of the most powerful tools for developing this skill is what we call emotional signature tracking. This is the practice of learning the specific personal signature of your core emotions. What does anxiety actually feel like in your chest? Is it a tightness, a buzzing, a coldness? What does the voice of your inner critic actually sound like in your head? Is it sharp, dismissive, sarcastic? What does your avoidance pattern look like in your daily calendar? Is it filled with busy work that keeps you from facing the one important task? You're not judging these patterns. You are simply observing them with the curiosity of a naturalist discovering a new species. You are learning their habits, their calls, their territories. Here is a real-life example. A woman I worked with, let's call her Clara, noticed that before every family gathering, she would become intensely irritable and find herself picking fights with her husband over small things. On the surface, she thought the problem was her husband's behavior or the stress of logistics. But through the practice of recognition, she paused and looked deeper at the pattern itself. She tracked the emotional signature. She realized the irritation was a mask, Underneath it was a deep, trembling anxiety. She named the pattern the preemptive strike. She recognized that she was starting small fights as a way to release the tension of her social anxiety before she even arrived at the event. Once she named it once, she recognized the preemptive strike as a predictable pattern. Ash was no longer a victim of it. She could see it coming. She could feel the first stirrings of the irritability and know, the anxiety is here. Naming it gave her the space to choose a different response. She could talk to her husband about her anxiety instead of fighting with him. She could use breathing techniques to soothe her nervous system. Recognition gave her choice. It gave her power. But recognition, as powerful as it is not the end of the journey. It answers the question, what is happening? But it doesn't answer the question, why? Naming the shark in the stereogram is one thing. Understanding the physics of light and optics that allow the illusion to happen is another. This brings us to the fifth and final stage of our core architecture, understanding. Understanding is where insight becomes transformation. It is the difference between seeing a storm and knowing the meteorological conditions that caused it. Recognition helps you name the pattern. Understanding reveals its purpose, its origin, and its logic. For example, someone might recognize, I have a pattern of procrastinating on projects that really matter to my heart. That is a huge step. But understanding takes it further. Through reflective practice, they might uncover the why. Perhaps as a child, they were severely punished or shamed for making mistakes on creative projects. In that moment, their young mind formed a logical, protective strategy. To be safe, I must not fully commit to something I care about. If I don't try my best, I can't truly fail, and I won't be shamed. This procrastination pattern isn't a flaw. It's a brilliant, outdated survival strategy. It is wisdom that has become fossilized. It is a shortcut that has become a cage. In the stage of understanding, we begin to explore the emotional logic behind our behaviors. We learn that even our most frustrating, self-sabotaging patterns often exist for a very good reason. They are, or once were, attempts at protection, survival, or emotional defense. One of the key tools we use for this stage is what we call root tracing. It's like being an archaeologist of your own psyche. You see a structure and present a twisted tree, a pattern of behavior, and you begin to gently dig into the soil around it, to understand the forces that shaped it. You ask powerful, compassionate questions. What was this pattern trying to protect me from? What legitimate need was this pattern trying to meet, perhaps in a clumsy way? Is this pattern still actually serving me today, or is it operating on old information? Let's go back to Clara and her preemptive strike pattern. Through the process of understanding, she traced the root of her social anxiety. She uncovered memories of being a shy child in a large, boisterous family, where she often felt overlooked and occasionally ridiculed for being quiet. Her anxiety wasn't irrational. It was a learned response to an environment where she didn't feel socially safe. The irritability was a protective shield her system had developed to keep people at a distance before they could potentially hurt her. This understanding brought a wave of compassion for herself. She wasn't broken or irritable. She was a person with a sensitive nervous system who had developed a clever, if costly, protective strategy. This compassion is a key marker of genuine understanding. It moves us out of self-blame and into a space of wise, kind curiosity. Another powerful practice for this stage is internal dialogue, again adapted from the internal family systems model. Once you have recognized a part of you, like the procrastinator or the people pleaser, you can begin to communicate with it. You can ask it directly. What are you afraid would happen if you didn't do your job? What is it that you want from me? Often the answers are shocking in their love and positive intent. The procrastinator might say, I'm afraid if you give it your all and fail, you'll be devastated. I'm trying to protect you from that heartbreak. The people pleaser might say, I'm afraid if you say no, they will abandon you. I'm trying to make sure you stay connected and loved. When you understand the positive intention behind the pattern, your relationship to it changes forever. You no longer need to fight it. You can begin to collaborate with it. You can say to that part of you, thank you for protecting me for so long. I see how hard you've worked. I'm an adult now, and I have new resources. Perhaps we can find a new way to keep me safe that doesn't involve sabotaging my dreams. Understanding doesn't mean you instantly fix everything. It means you see the whole system clearly enough to relate to it with compassion and intelligence. You see that the twisted tree isn't broken. It's a survivor, a testament to life's ability to adapt. And once you see that, you can begin to gently provide the conditions of the support, the sunlight, the nutrients for it to grow in a new, more aligned direction. So the full sequence is this. A signal is transmitted from the unconscious. Through recognition, you name the pattern. This is my avoidance mask. Through understanding, you grasp its purpose. This mask protected me from judgment when I felt vulnerable. Now you are in a position of true power. You can see the whole architecture. You can see how and why it was built. You are no longer a prisoner within it. You are the architect who can now choose to consciously renovate the structure. This integrated inner vision is the foundation for lasting change. It allows us to perform what one might call DD3 4D D1 chachachimkatu DDMN doing an ND3 4D1 do didiction NDMD plus NIKALDE complete reconstruction of oneself. Not just tweaking a behavior, but changing the underlying structure that generates the behavior. This is not about becoming a perfect, flawless being. It's about becoming a conscious, compassionate, and courageous participant in your own evolution. In our next episode, we will explore a concept that is crucial for this entire process, yet often overlooked. We will step out of the 5 stages of the architecture and into the very space in which they operate. We will explore the space between structures of the quiet, liminal zone of non-conceptual awareness, where old forms dissolve and new possibilities are born. It is the fertile void, the silent pause, where the deepest and most surprising transformations occur. But for now, I invite you to become a gentle archaeologist of your own experience. Notice a recurring pattern in your life. Name it. And then, with genuine curiosity, ask it, what are you trying to do for me? The answer may surprise you, and it may be the beginning of a profound journey from self-judgment to self-understanding.